Don't want the summer to end, sport?
What, so I can go back to my
normal boring life in total normal boring Bellwood? Oh. Hey, it finally happened! Now I can buy the T-rated games. Grandpa Max, let's go to a PG-13 movie with adult situations and some coarse language.
My goodness, just look at the time! This review requested on my Patreon by Jaden Lips. Feel free to donate if you want to help support the channel. Ben 10 is a show near and dear to my heart. With humble beginnings on Cartoon Network in 2005. I watched the series premiere one night and have been hooked ever since. The series is about an ordinary 10-year-old boy who discovers an alien device called the Omnitrix that allows him to transform into 10 different alien species, each with their own superpower that he can use to fight crime. It's had a complicated history since then, becoming a massive franchise and going through a lot of different iterations and reinventions. But for now, I just want to go back to the very beginning and outline what made this show resonate with kids like me so much, and why I think it's one of the most enduring and successful superhero franchises to not bear the mark of Marvel or DC. But in short, I think the answer is that Ben 10 is the best superhero that didn't come from comic books. The show has everything it needs to be a perfect superhero story. But first, a word from our sponsor. Thanks to Smart DNS Proxy for sponsoring this video. As the #1 smart DNS provider in the world, it unblocks and provides access to Disney+, HBO, Hulu, US Netflix, and hundreds of other US streaming services around the world. Also, people from the US can benefit from accessing other countries' streaming services. Smart DNS Proxy has two main services for its users. Smart DNS, a DNS service that automatically routes devices to proper networks to unblock the channels on almost any device, including computers, mobile devices, media players like Apple TV, Roku, and Smart TV. It's easy to set up. Users just need to change DNS to Smart DNS Proxy server, and that's it. It's also free to sign up and try their DNS for 2 weeks. Smart VPN, the only VPN solution in the world that combines VPN and Smart DNS solutions at once. Their Smart VPN servers encrypt users' internet traffic and secures them from government monitoring, hackers, and other prying eyes. Also, their Smart VPN server provides access to 600 channels like no other VPN can. So users can connect to any of the Smart VPN servers around the world, encrypt their traffic, and stream from their favorite channels around the world all at the same time. The Smart VPN network also has torrent-supported servers, so users can do all of the above and download torrents safely. To get a 50% discount for the first 2 weeks, use the referral link in the description. This series gave us kids so much to get excited for back in the day. Explosive stories, giant monsters, crazy world building and lore, and of course, some shockingly violent fight scenes for a kid's cartoon. They really beat each other's asses in this show. But it wasn't all just violence and monsters. This show had a lot of heart and creativity that kids could really respond to, starting with a really unique story that unfolds in an interesting way. Season 1 has a really great origin arc, where our hero, Timmy Turner Uchiha, gets his hands on some superpowers during summer vacation with his cousin and his grandpa on a cross-country road trip. Ben Tennyson is a brash, hot-headed, overconfident kid with a bratty sense of humor, but deep down, he's actually very noble and willing to heroically stand up for the little guy.
Now fork over the cash, so we can get out of here!
Leave him alone! Thanks a lot.
His cousin Gwen is bookish, responsible, and self-reliant, and their conflicting personalities lead them to arguing a lot because, that's what kids do.
What is she doing here? Take it easy, dweeb. This wasn't my idea.
Grandpa, please, tell me you didn't.
Even when I was a kid, I found some of their banter kinda cringy or forced, but I suppose that's the point considering their age. It's nice seeing them eventually start to get along. Their grandpa, Max Tennyson, is just a wholesome, sweet guy that's intelligent, well-traveled, and likes nature.
Geek.
Jerk.
Something tells me it's gonna be a long summer. Marinated mealworms. Hard to find them fresh in the States. They're considered a delicacy in some countries.
He's got a real Uncle Ben feel to him, but he doesn't get tragically killed off to make the main character feel bad. He's the kind of parental figure that you'd never want to disappoint, like my dad, Optimus Prime.
Subscribe to Xavier for more videos like this one.
During a freak accident where a pod from space permanently attaches a piece of alien technology to his wrist, Ben gets the ability to turn into various extraterrestrial monsters and cause chaos while being attacked by bad guys from Earth and space. It's all in the theme song, you know how it goes. Also, Jacob is here for some reason.
Hi. Hello.
Let's count him down, boy.
And then there were 10. Venom, but for Transformers. Fast. Nightmare wrapped in skin. Swamp-ass hornet. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. D. Bradley Baker's famous snarls. Waking up in the middle of the night and chugging the closest liquid. This species' aging makes no sense because no one kept continuity. And what do you get when you cross a volcano with a voice that's as cool as ice?
Check it out. I'm totally hot.
Think he's gonna stay a monster forever?
He's not a monster. He's an alien. I mean, look at him. What else could he be?
Instantly, it seems like Grandpa Max knows more than he's letting on, but they let that simmer for a few episodes as we expand on our story. With time, we learn that the watch ended up on Earth because it was being kept away from an alien warlord who looks oddly similar to the bad guy from Megas XLR, known as Vilgax.
You hold the key to a power struggle so ancient, so vast, it is beyond your feeble comprehension.
I don't know why, but that name is just really perfect. You know how some guys just look like a Todd or a Mike? This guy just looks like a Vilgax. I look at him and Vilgax is the word that pops into my head. So he wants to use the device's power to take over the universe, but in chasing it he gets a little messed up and can't retrieve it directly yet. That gives us time for Ben to discover all 10 alien forms in the watch and stop some more low-stakes super crime. But when Vilgax finally steps in, he's a really imposing and badass villain. And as overpowered as Ben may seem, he's still pretty outclassed against this tall, angry Squidman. After a crazy Season 1 finale, we discover Grandpa Max's secret past, as an alien-hunting superhero of sorts that has protected Earth with advanced weaponry for decades. His organization was codenamed the Plumbers. For some reason. He's actually Vilgax's old nemesis, and the two of them battled ages ago when Vilgax's fashion sense was a little more Rocky Horror Picture Show than his current attire. It was big at the time. Grandpa Max's alien belt notches also apparently rival that of the great Captain Kirk or Commander Shepard. Who would have thunk? A standout feature of this show is the voice acting.
Okay, Animal. Science class is canceled.
What are you doing?
Looking for the gold sumo slammer card? Duh.
You're supposed to use your powers to help people, not find some stupid trading card.
I love the voices for all the aliens, particularly Steve Bloom as all these ones, and as the main villain of the series. But each classic alien has so much personality to its design and powers. Every kid on the block wanted this watch for themselves and would argue about which alien transformation was the best one, or which one they wanted an action figure of the most. I remember my cousin was more of a forearms kind of guy, but I was partial to Heat Blast. Everyone has their own favorite, and each one can be useful. With the exception of Ripjaws, the fish guy. I feel like they could only use him by specifically writing episodes around bodies of water as a plot device, or by making him an inconvenient one to turn into to increase the stakes. Ben's powers are so interesting because he basically has every superpower. Granted with some heavy limitations to keep him from being too OP, but it's all there. And of course that was a smart idea because you just decupled the amount of action figures you could sell for one character without any of them being lame repaints of the same mold. Look it up, that's a word I think. I was, however, always disappointed with the toys based on the Omnitrix as a kid. They were fine, but never accurate enough for my tastes. I really wish someone online would make a great hyper-accurate prop of this thing for cosplays, or just to have as a collectible. Even just a fan-made thing would work for me. All I could find was this one on Etsy, and the dial is facing the wrong way, and I don't like how the faceplate is shaped. Someone with a 3D printer or better prop-making skills than myself, please get on that. Ideally, Cartoon Network will just capitalize on the idea and make like a $200 official one with a smartwatch built into it to simulate the screen, but I don't think they care that much. Much like any good superhero, Ben even has a built-in weakness to keep things interesting. His watch has a timer on it that runs out after he's been transformed for 10 minutes. Well, 10 minutes in canon, but for the sake of compressing time for a 22-minute cartoon, it actually runs on the same timetable as how long it takes Spider-Man to run out of webs, which is exactly as long as the writer wants until the precise moment when it's most inconvenient and dramatically exciting. Ben also has a habit of tampering with the thing because he's irresponsible and kind of a Bart Simpson type. So it's a running gag that he's in possession of the most dangerous technology in the universe, and sometimes he just smashes it against the walls or jams a screwdriver into it or uses it to break walnuts or whatever, and it causes the thing to work improperly by not turning into the alien he selected. Or just glitch out and not let him change back to a human for an extended period of time.
We got company closing in fast!
That gives a nice bit of added tension because sometimes you think one guy is the obvious solution to a problem, but the watch gives him another one and he has to figure out how to make do with that instead.
Time to go forearms.
Oh, stupid watch.
Shows how resourceful he can be in a pinch, and for all his trash talk, he's actually pretty smart. He's a cool character once you look past all his surface level attitude problems. Along the way, his constant button mashing allows him to unlock additional aliens to turn into, with some cool new powers and gimmicks, meaning there's a lot more than just 10 in there. More like thousands upon thousands.
You know, if you mess with the settings on this thing long enough, you can turn into some really crazy stuff. Huh. For some reason, my voice doesn't change for this one.
We also meet a few good guy aliens to help Ben grow as a character, like an alien mercenary named Tetrax that donated some of his own DNA to the Watch, allowing Ben to turn into him. He teaches him to use some more clever tactics and to think his way through a fight more often, instead of just turning into the muscular guys over and over. We even meet the sarcastic little alien scientist who built the Watch in the show's first TV movie. The creator, Azimuth, explains that it's not a weapon for war, but a tool to create understanding and racial peace between alien cultures across the universe by allowing species to walk a mile in each other's shoes. That's a pretty heavy concept for a kids show. It feels more like an idea out of a random Star Trek episode. I love that the show didn't pull punches on something nuanced like that. So with the reveal that their grandpa is an ex-G man and knows pretty much all there is to know about the Omnitrix and the various criminal entities in the universe who want to get their hands on it, the show opens up so much more in Season 2. I'd also like to take time to highlight how much I love this show's other greatest villain, Kevin E. I know the name is a little on the nose, but if Vilgax is Norman Osborn, then this kid is the Venom of this show. He's a vandal punk kid that lives on the streets with superpowers of his own, the ability to absorb and expel energy like a human battery. Ben runs into him and they become fast friends, using their powers to act like a couple of schmucks and perform some good old-fashioned B&E to get an unreleased video game, before outrunning the cops. But Kevin turns out to be a little bit of a loose cannon and wants to start using their powers for more extreme crimes than stealing video games. Him and Ben battle it out, and we discover that Kevin can use his powers to absorb the energy from the Omnitrix and take on some of Ben's powers. He's a morally bankrupt, dark reflection of our hero. They have multiple battles with Kevin mimicking Ben's aliens before he goes too far and becomes this hodgepodge of all of them.
I can't change back! I'm stuck like this! Look at what you've done!
It's payback time for turning me into a freak.
You're always a freak, Kevin. It's just now the ugly's also on the outside.
I'm still 10 times better than you! I've got all your powers, plus my own! I'm Kevin 11!
This is a weird note, but I've always wished Carnage sounded like this voice actor with this filter. Something about that seems really right. They even have a great episode in Season 2 where Ben and Kevin get stuck in an alien gladiator arena with an electric shock button attached to them, and they have to work together to escape. Is this just Planet Hulk? They came out around the same time. Weird. The other strongest villain characters would have to be Dr. Animo and Charmcaster. One's a mad scientist that uses animal DNA to create giant monsters, and the other is a young sorceress that's trying to live up to her evil uncle's name as a magic villain. I typically don't care for the human villains in this series, but these two stand out a lot more than, say, the Forever Knights. Those guys are like an evil version of the Plumbers and want to hunt and experiment on all aliens, not just the bad ones. In concept, they could be cool, but I felt like they were more of an excuse to have generic stormtrooper-type bad guys that we could just punch 1,000 of. Season 2 ends with a banger of an episode where Vilgax and Kevin team up to kill Ben, but he's accidentally turned off all the restrictions on the watch and he can change into any of the aliens with a thought for however long he wants. It's awesome to see him really let loose to keep up with his two greatest enemies, and he ends up ditching them in an alternate universe called the Null Void that Grandpa Max used to drop dangerous alien criminals into. My headcanon is that the Null Void, the Phantom Zone, and the Negative Zone are all the same place, and people all over the multiverse just keep opening portals to it to dump their trash.
Going Ghost! Dragon up! Shazam! I'll put a shock to your system! So what's the sitch? Sharingan! Titans go! I'm the best there is at what I do, bub!
Season 3 and 4 afterwards feel a little directionless with the two main villains gone, and they spend the next few episodes just roaming around the continental US righting wrongs and fighting random smaller antagonists. But the majority of them aren't as interesting as Darth Cthulhu and Frankenstein's alien. The exception probably being this guy. Yeah, I know Ben's supposed to be that guy, right? Well, they always plan the idea for one of the aliens in the Watch, Ghost Freak, being a criminal who regains his consciousness and wants to escape. He's pretty cool initially. Other than that, not a whole lot of important stuff happens for the last 2 seasons. They continually introduce more and more transformations, but they just don't feel as special or as engaging to me as the original set. Back in the day, I just didn't vibe with some of these Season 3 editions because they felt kinda lazy by just sticking with this Boo Haunted House theme. Like, this one is a werewolf. This one is a mummy. This one is a Frankenstein's monster. Oh, brother. Ditto and Upchuck are cool, though. They also really don't know what to do with Ben's cousin, Gwen. So to keep her from feeling like too much of a sidekick, they bring in this story where she starts learning magic from a spellbook they pilfered from Charmcaster. This choice seemed a little weird to me in a show that was so heavily steeped in sci-fi, and it gave me the sense they just threw it in there to give her something to do during the fight scenes since everyone else was so proactive. It's not the worst idea in the world, and it's paid off in the later shows very well, but here it wasn't fully thought out yet. This summer road trip feels like it lasts way longer than 3 months. In fact, this is the second longest cartoon summer vacation after Phineas and Ferb. For these last 2 seasons, I don't feel as invested in the villains, but I really enjoy the smaller, one-off episodes that feel more slice of life. Couple examples. Ben's older cousin, another member of the Plumbers, marries an alien from a race that humans have been at war with for decades. There's this interesting family rivalry where everyone wants to stop the wedding and Ben has to make sure it happens to form a bond of peace between the two species. There's also a really neat episode where Ben and Gwen are taken to a possible future where Ben has become the greatest superhero in the universe by the time he's 30, but as a result of doing this for so long, he's become jaded and serious, never leaving his alien forms. But meeting his younger self gives him a reality check and helps him learn to have some fun and appreciate his human half once again. It's like that Bruce Willis movie, but with aliens. This future is super not canon, but it's a fun glimpse into what Ben's life could have been like. Season 3 and 4 remind me of the last few issues of a really great comic run after the writer has finished their main overarching story, and just spends a little extra time with the characters doing smaller things for another 5 to 10 issues before the new writer steps in to mix things up. This show definitely has the fingerprints of comic industry writers all over it like that. It even has a few alternate universe what-if episodes, where Gwen gets to watch in an alternate timeline, or a story where Ben's parents find out about his powers after the summer ends.
Ben, is it just me, or are those super lame-o versions of your alien heroes?
As with any other long-running story, it's fun to go back to the earliest stuff and look at it with the perspective of future context. She can do this because she has the recessive genes of their alien grandma who's a being of pure energy that can warp reality with her thoughts, making her kind of a god? That rock fell because his 17-year-old self from the future was standing behind a tree nearby and made the ground shake so he'd find the watch and ensure the timeline happened. That guy ages backwards, apparently? That guy's gonna get super buff. These two characters start dating in high school, and this kid from Ben's school will get a robot arm and try to kill him in a parking lot when they're 15. Eventually, this show winds down with an hour-long special where he faces off against 10 of his human antagonists from throughout the show as a nice little closer. There was also a live-action TV movie that was It was... I liked it when I was 8 years old. It had a Block Party song in the trailer, and they're one of my favorite bands, so that was cool. Hey, wait a minute. Why does that logo have a little triangle on it in that graphic? That's not how it looks. Oh my god, the trailer company must have gotten confused by the toy. Because it has this opening on it instead of the screen? How does that happen? The movie is cute, I guess, but didn't live up to the expectations of the series because of its confusing story and low-budget effects. It also didn't help that the alien voice actors from the show didn't make it in either.
This is the part where you tell me your name, what your evil intentions are. You have done this before, right?
Gym class is in session. Today, we play Pummel the Creepy Alien Dude.
JT and Cash are gonna get theirs.
That doesn't sound like Invader Zim. Ben 10 is a great series that got my imagination really flowing as a kid because it was so good at thinking outside of the box and doing something unique, but still very classic for a superhero show. It has all the hallmarks of a great comic book character without ever being based on a comic book.
And you must be Batman. Just kidding. Can I have your autograph?
You want my autograph? I mean, yes, of course.
It's a great mix of original ideas and taking inspiration from other sources to make something new and fresh. Ben as a character is great because he's relatable for kids, but even at that age, his flaws are still identifiable, and it was inspiring to see him overcome them and grow past them through the course of the series. He was a character that taught us that brains can beat brawn, that you should always do the right thing even with nearly infinite power, and that family is an even greater power than that. Much like Ben himself, it isn't a perfect show, but it stuck with us and became something that we could all see a bit of ourselves in. It inspired us. That's a perfect superhero story to me.
Hey there, viewers from Earth and otherwise. Ben Tennyson here doing my best impression of the out-of-the-world talent Yuri Lowenthal. Be sure to subscribe to Xavier for more videos like this one. See you next time!
Tell me who your favorite alien is in the comments, and why any answer other than Heat Blast and Ghost Freak is incorrect. Thanks again to Jacob Corpus for helping me animate this video, and of course, Ben 10 himself, Yuri Lowenthal, for being a guest in this video. You're the best.